hope you're feeling groovy as we're about to review another movie. Today, I have Ranelle Golden, the director of Harvey, on. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate being on.
So, you've written a lot of different things. You've written children books, you've written all kinds of different genres. What would you say was the most difficult genre for you to write?
It's funny, but I think the one that I have the hardest time with is comedy. And I have no idea why, because, I can be funny. At least that's what I tell myself. Other people might not agree. I don't know. But I have a hard time with comedy. I'm really good with the dark stuff. I don't know why.
All right. I imagine comedy's got to be difficult as well, though, because everyone has a different sense of humor and a different level.
They do. I could probably do dark comedy, but I don't know if people would appreciate it or not. But lighthearted, family comedy, stuff like that, I just never mastered it. I prefer like fantasy and action, and the last few years we've been writing more like thrillers, and I guess they kind of lean to the horror side, but they're more like psychological thrillers, playing with the mind. So, and I actually have enjoyed that. So we've written, a bunch of those. And I've been writing with my son, which is like one of my favorite things to do.
That's
we play
awesome.
Off each other, and he's not afraid to tell me when I'm done, and I like that.
For sure.
It's all good. Yeah.
So, was it doing the movie Harvey? Was it more special since you got to have it filmed in the town that you live in?
I don't know if it was more special, but I will tell you what was really nice is I didn't have to travel. I could actually go home, sleep in my own bed, and then get up and go to set at 4 in the morning. And it was great because usually I'll be on the road for an hour or two each day unless I stay where I'm going. So that was super nice. Harvey was kind of, it was made during COVID because the films we were working on, we had lost our investors, and we're like, what can we do? And my son came up with the idea, hey, let's go ahead and make a movie. And we kind of went it to a small town life. And Harvey was born. We literally wrote it in 9 days, and then I got in touch with Johnny. I'm like, hey, Johnny, you want to co-produce this thing with me? And we wrote you a role and all that good stuff. And Harvey came to life. It was so good that we did it. We did it as a union film, and we did it safely, which was amazing. But it was obviously very different than any other filming experience I had ever had because we had zones for people. You had all the COVID testing. You had check-ins with the nurse every day. There's a lot more protocol and procedure than you're used to in indie filmmaking. But we were happy to do it because it meant we could work. And, thankfully, everybody ended up safe and healthy and got through it. We didn't have one sickness. We did have some times where the COVID tests don't come back fast enough, and then you can't have the cast and crew on set. And even one time my test was back, and if that makes sense, from Google, so I couldn't come to set. It was like, thank God Johnny and I were co-directing. So he could be there and, kind of take the reins while I've been waiting on my test to come back. It was crazy.
I'm just curious. Like, I know John Hughes wrote The Breakfast Club in 24 hours, and you wrote this in 9 days. How are you able to write a story so quickly?
It's something where you write. It kind of lends itself to writing what you know. So what we had is we knew the town that we're filming in because it's our town, and we based it around our town. And then I had lived when I was younger in a town of like 1,500 people, and all we had was a bowling alley. And so we had that to lend itself. And then we had, thanks to COVID, we had that sense of, being trapped and wanting to get the hell out of where you're at. Sorry to cuss, but anyway, so we were able to kind of just bring all of those elements together. And once we made that decision, we made an outline. And we're like, where do we want to see this going? And from that outline, we're able to knock it out really quick. And having two of us on one script, we go back and forth. And I'm one of those crazy people, but when I'm writing, I literally become every character. And I can't be me again until the story's done.
Okay.
So I don't know if other writers do that. I imagine they do, and that's how they're able to write so quickly. It's not unusual for me to knock something out in a week or two. Usually I need 3 if it's a feature film. If it's a short, I need like a day. Because I write for other people, so it just depends on what you want. Yeah, if I'm into it, I'll write it really fast. If I don't, I'll see you in 6 months. I'll see you later. Yeah, it's a crazy experience, but I love writing. I really do. And my son and I, we make a good team because, we can just play off of each other. And since he was a kid, he's been like my muse. And he's 21. He just turned 21. And so, now it's real. We started our company, and our first one out the door from beginning to end as a feature film is Harvey. We've done other things like shorts, and we were doing Empath when COVID hit. So Empath is a great story. Hopefully we'll raise funds to be able to finish the full feature. We only got a proof of concept done on that one. But, yeah, one day at a time.
So, is that why the story takes place in the bowling alley? Because that's all you had in your small town?
Well, one of the main reasons was COVID. So originally we were going to do 100% of the story in the bowling alley and make it totally self-contained, which meant we didn't have to go out there and be exposed to all of those other locations and risks. But we found as we were writing it, we needed to have Harvey have a home and, a couple other things where we went outside of the bowling alley. But most of it is in the bowling alley, and we chose to do that because of the virus and getting union approval and all of those things. So it wasn't a creative choice as much as it was we want to make a film, and what can we do that would make making a film possible. And that was doing something self-contained. So a lot of things I would have wanted to do, I couldn't do because of that. But it worked out okay in the end. I'm pretty happy with the result. So, yeah.
What were some things you would have liked to have done if the COVID wasn't in the way?
I'd like to have done a lot more of Harvey going through the town and interacting with people that suspect him of this murder. And that was just something we couldn't do. And for obvious reasons, because every single person that we would bring in, you have to spend that money to have those COVID tests and do all of those things. So we had to make the decision, how do we do this? But that's something I would have loved to have done, a little more of that, like him hitting all these spots in this little town where they gossip. And they're like, you killed somebody, and it makes him even question himself more. I probably shouldn't tell people, but that is something I would like to have done.
I thought you did a really good job keeping the viewers engaged with it primarily taking place in just a bowling alley. Was it more difficult making a movie primarily in one place?
It wasn't more difficult. It really wasn't. It was just, we got lucky because this bowling alley, the owner of it said, hey, you can use the whole thing. You can use the office. You can use the pinball room. You can use the bar. You can use upstairs. Like, he was pretty cool with us letting us use everything, even the bathroom. So even though we were self-contained in that bowling alley, we were able to move around quite a bit. So that was kind of cool. I think it worked out okay. Even his kitchen, he let us use his freezer. He let us use his kitchen. It was so nice. So it felt like we were moving around in different places, and we weren't just on the lane, so after check-in.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, being in one place longer makes it easier because all of your equipment is there. Like you're not jumping locations. You've got everything you need right there. You just reset in the different areas that you're going to film. But you're not traveling anywhere, and so I actually enjoyed that. You don't get to do that a lot. Usually, it's one day here, one day there, one day, and you move around every day. This was most days were there, and I think we filmed for like 16 days, something like 16, yeah. And so I think of the 16, 12 were in the bowling alley. So.
Was this film inspired a lot by like 80s movies?
We wanted to have, when we were reaching out, we reached out to some distributors ahead of time, and we were like, what's hot right now? And everyone was saying that the Stranger Things vibe and the color and the tone was kind of the way to go. And then we were like, oh, okay. And this bowling alley sort of had that feel, so we decided we'd kind of have an 80s feel, but not be in the 80s. And then, of course, in post-production, Johnny brought in all of this really cool music from bands that he's known all around or worked with. So we ended up with a slew of music that actually kind of has that 80s vibe from these older bands. So it came to life as we went. It wasn't the original intention other than look and feel. We wanted that kind of thing, but we didn't like write it for the 80s.
Okay. Were any of the songs like inspired from video games? Because one of the opening song in the movie reminded me a lot of Saints Row 3.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to ask the people that wrote the songs. That's entirely possible. And some of the bands, I know Johnny kind of picked all the music. I believe there's one or two of them like from Germany and overseas, and they've had their music everywhere. So it's entirely possible, but I do not know that. That'll be a good question for Johnny when you talk to him.
All right.
Yeah.
What scene was the hardest to film in the movie?
The hardest to film probably was just the kill scene where we killed a guy, and there was multiple reasons. One was, blocking it location-wise, and the other was, we're filming in the middle of the night in the bowling alley, but we needed to be out of there before the sun came up, and the sun started coming up while we were still filming that. So that scene proved to be a little bit challenging, but we ran with it. We found ways to work with it. He was very clever in dealing with those light changes, and so hopefully nobody noticed how hard it really was, and it worked out okay. So.
I was kind of curious. The character Harvey, was he written off of anybody you know, or like how did you think of?
So Harvey kind of like an embodiment of everybody that deals with being unhappy with their. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Being unhappy with their life and just wishing they were someplace else doing something. So I think he kind of reflects anyone I've ever met in my lifetime that they're like, oh, geez, I hate this job, or, I really want to go do this with my life, but I can't because, in his case, his mom, and sometimes it's your kids, sometimes it's your spouse, sometimes you just don't have the money. Like, there's these reasons we all get stuck and we don't take beats to go and do what we want in life. And so Harvey's like an embodiment of that. So, I mean, I relate to him. I think probably my kids relate to him. I think, he's kind of a character for everybody, but he acts out on the I hate everybody equally kind of feeling. Because, I have those days where I'm just like people. I don't want to be around people. I just want my cat or something. But Harvey is outwardly projected, lets people know how he needs people. So.
So, what other future projects are you and your son wanting to work on together?
So we still have Impasse that we're hoping to find investors for, and then we have written a few more things since we started our company. One is called Rock Slide, and it's kind of inspired by A Star is Born, but it's about an aging rock star that steals his young daughter's song, who's coming up in the industry. She's a teenager, and they're estranged. He hears her song, he steals her song, and the movie's about. It's sort of a family film, but it's edgy with sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But the movie's about this man's journey. Does he go through with this to be the famous rock star, or does he become a which he currently has been? And that movie, that screenplay has won a ton of awards, and I'm truly hoping to make that one. And then we have another one that we wrote called The Demon Daughter, which is another we wrote because of COVID, and it's self-contained. It's like a farmhouse, and it's inspired by Insidious, but it involves meditation and some things you haven't seen before in film. And so, like, astral travel and meditation, and it leads you to this other realm kind of thing. But that's a pure horror, which I don't normally do, but I like that script a lot. But those are the two we're hoping to do. And then he and I had just been, we were hired to write somebody's life story last year. And so that's done, and we're working on that too. And that's a true story about a guy who starts out as I'm trying to find a nice way to say this, but in his young life, he starts out as like a Chippendale dancer type character, and he ends up chasing police. And it's a very motivational story all the way through, with a Forrest Gump type feel to it. And that's just a lovely story. So, obviously everything goes back to funding, but we'd love to see that one made as well. And I would be a part of that if I need to direct it. It just all depends. Everything is based on investors in this industry, and that's the hard part for me. One day at a time. I'm looking.
So you mentioned that there were investors that stopped investing in the movie Harvey, and so that kind of hurt the.
It impasse. They walked once we went on lockdown. So they basically we did a proof of concept in February 2020, and we went on lockdown in March of 2020, and they were like, no, it's too risky. So, not knowing what the future holds, we had lost them. But that is what actually led us to make Harvey, because we're like, well, with what we have left, what can we do? And so we came up with Harvey. So Impasse is a much bigger movie, more effects and way more actors, and it's just a bigger story all around. So Harvey, we could contain it, not just in location, but in budget. And that helped. It really helped, and we're really proud of it. And I had made another film, too, during COVID, which is coming out in February. That's Legacy of Love, and I made it for a friend of mine, and it's a sweet film about, it's a family film, almost faith-based, about a girl Golden loses her mother tragically, and she's angry with God and angry at life, and she finds her way back and into healing by figuring out how to help other people that are going through someone they love. And it's a sweet story. So that one's coming out next month.
That sounds like a very sweet story. I have to check that out. What is it called?
Yeah, it's Legacy of Love, and it is a really sweet story. It's definitely a cult film because we made that about 2-3 months before Harvey, and I brought Johnny in on that one too. I was like, hey, could you be the dad? So Johnny's actually playing a dad in this film, but it's a nice film with a nice message, for sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
You said that you've written stories for other people. What stories have you written for other people?
Well, other people come to me and they hire me to write their concepts. And so the one that I was telling you about earlier, that the gentleman that was became chief of police, that's an example, and that is a life story. And then we've had others, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say the names or not, but we've had others, some that are very fantasy-oriented, like Dream Realm, Parallel Universe, Multiverse type thing, to, oh gosh, I've adapted several books. People like their books adapted. I don't know what else. There's just so many, and it's a good way for me to make an income on the side. So I'm always writing for people. If you know anybody,
Is it hard trying to write adaptation of a book? Is that more challenging because the world's already created?
You know, I breeze through those depending on what type it is, and their style of writing. Are they writing in first person or third person? And I actually love doing it. It doesn't take me very long. A lot of them I can do in a week or two. It's, you know, again, depending on how the book was written, I enjoy it. It's just taking and being true to what they wrote. I usually do not embellish or change it at all unless they want me to. Because I think that if you've taken the time to write something, it should be honored and respected. And so I'm not going to go and change your world up unless you said, hey, could you do this for me? I don't like this or that. I won't. I actually just take what you've written and create the screenplay out of it. So I find it easy. I like it.
That would be kind of difficult, though, like writing Game of Thrones or something like that.
Oh, gosh, yes. That would be a whole new world, yeah. Nobody's come to me with a book like that yet. Ask me after. I'll be like, I'll see you in a year. I imagine that would be amazing and hard, and I love that writer. So.
I don't understand how he's able to keep up with all these characters. Like, I can't even keep up with them.
On TV, the show, right? Like watching the show, and you're like, how did he write all that? His mind is amazing. He probably never lived in the real world. Only in all of his worlds he's created. At least that's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes, it is. It's awesome at the same time. So,
it is awesome.
I wouldn't be able to do that. I would love to be able to do that.
You had a lot of unique camera angles in the movie, especially during the opening credits with when you are being introduced to Harvey with him driving to the bowling alley. What made you decide to do that, like that specific way?
Something that we had our DP Shannon Rainier, and then he had another camera guy under him, Drew Duncan, and he did all of like the drone footage and GoPros on cars and different things like that. And I think together they're like, what can we do with the camera resources that we have. And I know Shannon did a lot of sliders, and he had a lot of things that he's very good at doing camera-wise, and he did them. And then Drew is really good with, like, the drones and the different above-the-thing shots. And Drew I've worked with many times, and that guy would stand on a bus to get the shot while it's moving. So we were very lucky, and he had a great camera. I think he's using one of the Black Magic, and we had a couple of them, so we were able to run multi-cameras at the same time. I think we had 3. And it turned out I love that opening. It's very pretty to actually even look at. I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. So, and I was not out there when they do those drone shots. I was not with them. So I was really happy when I saw them.
Yeah. Then also, there when Harvey vomits from drinking too much, how are you able to get a camera angle from the trash can?
So that was Drew again. He put the GoPro with his garbage can.
Okay.
And that was a little gross, but it made a point. So yeah.
So, did Darius what did he do to make himself vomit? Like, was that?
No, he made some. I believe Drew concocted some kind of mixture that he would put it in his mouth, and yeah. So, it was pretty gnarly. It was gross. Yeah.
I wonder if it tasted as awful as it looked.
I'm like, sure. Oh, you wonder what? Sorry, I was thinking about it.
I was wondering if it tastes as awful as it looks.
Oh, it must have. Oh my God. Yeah. But Darius, he just has to become the character. So he goes into character and he just stays that way. And he will do just about anything for his characters. I actually, when we were writing this role, I had him in mind because I had cast him on 3 other things. So this was the 4th time I'd worked with him, but I wanted him to be the lead. Because in the other times he was doing supporting, and I had one where I had him like a gang member. The first time I worked with him, and I was blown away by him because he actually practiced this way of talking and made the side of his lip curl, and spoke just like crazy. And the rest of the time he's such a polite young man that it's off-putting. He's so polite and so nice in person, and then you see him be like this gang member that sells drugs. It rattled me. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow! But he really takes his job seriously. And right now he's getting ready. He's playing Romeo and Juliet. It's a huge theater, live performance, the Strad Theater in Phoenix. And the kid, he's just got the acting job. I'm sure he can go as far as he wants to if he keeps up. He's amazing. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What scene was the most fun to record or direct?
Oh, most fun. Oh God, I never thought of that. That's a really good question. I like the ones at the counter for fun with the shoes and when he gets in trouble, and anything that Erin O'Brien was in. She just brings this. She's so ornery, and I named her character Karen for a lot of reasons. And you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
And she just, I don't know, anything with her just had this energy, and you weren't quite sure what she was going to do next. So her and Darius and the at the counter, and she'd walk away and shoot him a bird and things like that. added that to her character, so that was pretty cool. And I loved whenever Darius and Allison were together up there dealing with the people coming in and out, and the two of them talking. All of that was just a lot of fun to film. And you know, the screenplay come to life. And then, of course, being in a small town, there was a certain monotony I wanted at the beginning, which we caught pretty well, but, you know, it's never quite what you write is never quite what comes on screen. There's always three versions. They say there's like what you wrote, what you filmed, and what you get in post. So, you know, it kind of evolved. But I liked everything that I was there for. And there were a couple days that I wasn't there because I let Johnny do it because I was dealing with the COVID stuff. And, you know, being a managing producer, I had some fires to put out because of that. So some things were actually a surprise to me, and I was super happy. It's a good movie for our first one out of Macro Vision Film. I'm happy with it. And each one, you know, you learn, you grow, and each one will get better. So I can't wait to do the next one, but I just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
So.
Were there any times throughout the directing that you kind of just had to like improvise? Like you weren't really sure how you wanted to do it. You just kind of had to improvise a little bit.
So it was a little bit different for me because usually I go in and like I've done the shot list with the DP and I've done all my blocking charts and this and that. But you would do a lot of like pre-production meetings with cast and crew, and you know you'd have everything all planned out. In this case, because of the budget and we had people coming in from everywhere, we didn't get a lot of the prep time. So there were times where it was like, well, we had planned to film in this room, but you know what, we really want to mix it up so we don't have that monotony of just being at the front desk. So let's go over to the pinball machine. And it would be like a split-second decision. You make this decision, but then that means if everybody agrees to it, you go over there, you can film it, but then you have to decide on the fly, what's the blocking, what's the angles, how are we going to get this? So yes, there were a few times like that, not too many, but a few. And then there was one thing we dealt with, which turned out to work okay. The location we were going to film at for Harvey's home, the septic tank blew up and we weren't able to go there. So on the fly, we had to find a different location. And so that was probably our biggest challenge through the entire filming process. So, you know, Johnny takes over, I go back, and I find the next location kind of thing. But it all worked out. We divided and conquered, and we have a film out in this market right now to see. So that's just sort of exciting. Yeah.
Did you have any rewrites you had to do through production and directing?
During production, we did have one rewrite because, well, I don't know if I say or not, but we had one character that was supposed to be the Randy character's girlfriend, and she did not want to get a COVID test. And then because we were union, obviously, there's no compromising on that. I had to follow the rules. And so I didn't have time to recast her because she literally she's like, I got the test, I'll be there in an hour, and then didn't show up. Sort of situation. And so what we did is we did a rewrite, and I just sort of killed the girlfriend, and we added the line. I talked to everybody, and then we came up with adding the line that, where's your girlfriend? Where's your girlfriend? So we made a joke out of it. Instead of having her there. Originally it was going to be like the town girl that hangs with every guy. I want to put that nicely, but you know what I'm alluding to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the easy does it girl. That was going to be his girlfriend. And she was younger than him and this and that, right? And so it ended up working out okay. And Maybe we took the joke too far. Maybe we didn't. But instead, we're like, "Where's your girlfriend? Where's your girlfriend?" So that was my solution. It worked, but that was done on the fly on set. And that was probably the only really big thing. So, yeah. There's always something. Every day, always something. But it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's something to hit and handle. So, and that's one of the things that I'm good at is troubleshooting.
Well, I thought the film was really good, and I thought you did a good job directing it and writing it.
Thank you. This Team Harvey, we all worked really hard.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share about the movie?
It's out now. It released on January 7th, and you can watch it on, iTunes, Apple TV, the Xbox thing. You can watch it on DirecTV, Dish TV, Comcast, Xfinity, Atlantic Broadband, Voodoo, Vimeo, like there's a long list. So just Harvey. It's just the name, and people, please go watch it, and hopefully you will enjoy it. It's a psychological thriller. So that's about all I can think of. On Facebook, there is a fan page called Harvey the Feature Film, and and then I tweet about it on Twitter, but it's under Ranelle Golden, my name. And those are the main things. And I want to thank everybody that was on our team, even the music people and my producing partner Johnny and Rock House Productions, which was also the other production company involved in this, which is another family thing that I've been doing since 9 or 10. And we do all kinds of things, commercials and shorts and the family features, things like that. So, but it's been a pleasure, and I thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
No problem. Thank you.